I always want to ask, can't we develop a narrative that moves beyond this blame thing, the question of whose fault it is and who is the enemy, and just say something like, well, for decades we did what we thought was right, but we've learned some new things since then, and now we've got a problem, and like you just said, together we can solve it. Something along those lines. Do you think that the blame thing is effective, or should we move away from it?
Jonah Sachs?
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult question on this topic, because I think that, again, take the Darth Vader character in Star Wars. He is both the guy that we blame, the ultimate villain, but also kind of a reflection. He's the hero's father, and who the hero would become if they give in to that anger. So having an empathetic kind of reaction to those who stand in our way is actually very important. And a lot of movements, nonviolent movements, have done that really well and seen the other side as human beings. I don't think we necessarily need to demonize any other person, but I think that there are structures, and corporate structures, and systems that are in our way that don't have that every person can be redeemable in this movement. But I do think that if we say that there are nothing that we're against at all within it, we need to first declare what we're for. But if we say that we're not against anything, we can't identify what the problem is except for ourselves, I think we're going to stay in this kind of cycle of denial. We need to be better. We need to be better, and we're just not getting there. We've tried it for 30 years, and we're not getting better. So I think it's about not demonizing, not stereotyping. I use the idea of wars for the title of the book, not to call for more violence and war in the world, but because that conflict is the key of any story. Every story is about character, conflict, and plot. So we need to know what we're against. We don't need to focus on it. We can focus on that positive future. But if we don't know what we're against, there's not really a story there.
We have to take responsibility for separating out backward-looking blame with forward-looking responsibility, I think. And I think there's no question that whatever the ill is, there are forces and people who are responsible for perpetuating it. And we can move on to dealing with that in good ways.
Thank you.
I was just going to add, I think it may be useful to understand what the actions are. So there's sort of the cause of the problem, but then what are the actions that are going to allow us to address the problem? And once we understand what actions need to be taken, they may suggest different storylines, potentially different narratives that maybe an entity is bad, but maybe it would shed a slightly different story on it as well.